Did you know that according to the New York State Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence, that the leading cause of injury to women between the ages of 15 and 44 is domestic violence? That's more than all car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. There's also been proven that between 40 and 60% of perpetrators of spousal abuse also commit child abuse to children living in their homes. In this speech, I'm going to define domestic violence, explain the cycles of domestic violence, talk about the 5 different types of domestic violence that exist, the effects of it, and the resources available to those who have been victimized by domestic violence. The 5 different types of domestic violence are physical, sexual, psychological, emotional, and economic. Physical domestic violence is inflicting physical harm. This could be hitting, kicking, scratching, or shooting and stabbing is also considered physical domestic violence. Emotional domestic violence is undermining the victim's self-worth. This could be constant criticism, name-calling, and bullying. Sexual domestic violence is the forcing of sexual contact without consent. There are things such as marital rape and forced prostitution. There's also psychological domestic violence. This is instilling fear. This could be harassment, blackmail, or the threat of harm. The last one is economic. This is making your partner financially dependent on you and maintaining complete control over financial and assets. Now that we've talked about the 5 different types of domestic violence, I'm going to discuss the cycle of domestic violence. There are 3 phases to the domestic violence cycle. The first one is the honeymoon phase. This is when abusers act differently after a violent episode. Some of them ignore the fact that there has been abuse, or deny that they did anything, or they try to make it up to you. They buy things, they may go to church, they may help with the kids. Then it moves to the tension phase. This feels like walking on eggshells. You feel like there's nothing that you can do that's right. Although there's no physical abuse at this point in time, there's emotional abuse and the threat of harm. And then it leads to the violence phase. This is the actual violent episode. At this point in time, either emotional, sexual, or physical abuse occurs, and at this point in time, a crime has been committed. And then it moves from the violence phase back to the honeymoon phase. It continues to cycle through this as long as the person allows it to. And the sad thing is, the more times that this happens, the faster the cycle is completed, and the severity of the cycle increases. Now that we've talked about the cycle of domestic violence, I want to talk about the effects of domestic violence. Domestic violence not only affects the victim, but the children who witness it. The physical aspects of it for the battered women include arthritis, hypertension, and heart disease. These are actual physical ailments that become prevalent after years of battery. It can also lead to job loss, because once a woman is battered, a lot of times they have to miss work, so it causes job loss. Mental and coping problems. And 1/3 of children who see their mother abused suffer from psychosomatic disorders, school behavioral problems, disruptive behaviors, anxiety fears, and sleep distortion. And also, children who witness domestic violence are also much more likely to become substance abusers, and that could be drugs or alcohol, and they are also twice as likely to become involved in an abusive relationship, whether it be an abuser or an abused. Now that we've talked about the different effects of domestic violence, I want to provide you with some resources that are available to women who have been victimized by domestic violence. There's the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is staffed 24 hours with professional counselors. They're there to either counsel women or to provide them with information on safe houses. There's the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. There's the Family Violence Prevention Fund. There's in most cities, there's local safe houses that are there for women to go to if they have nowhere else to turn to, no family to go to, or no place to stay. And then there's the local law enforcement, because domestic violence is a crime, so local law enforcement is there to help. The sources that I used for this speech include Fresno State, the Violence Prevention Project, the New York State Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence, and Stephen Stewart's Long-Term Effects of Domestic Violence. I hope that everyone here has a better understanding of what domestic violence is, the effects of it, the cycle that takes place, and has an insight into some of the resources that are available for the victims of domestic violence. The consequences of domestic violence can last a lifetime, and they carry on through generations. So it's time that we get together and end this vicious cycle.